as well. Okay, so I was here. So Virender, did you introduce yourself? Like
No,
what is
no,
your
I was
background?
working on software testing about 12 years experience.
Okay. So basically
Currently
you
not
have,
working, not working. I'm taken off.
okay, okay. So basically you have some idea about IT. And the reason why I was asking is,
Business analyst processes and the testing processes I'm very much well aware of.
okay, because we have Chandra Bhanu as well. So he's new to IT. So I was covering the basics of, few of the basic terms so that he
Right, right.
understands how it
Cool, cool.
works.
Okay, okay, cool. Fair enough.
So what is software? I know, I mean, Chandrabhanu, more
Yeah,
towards
yeah.
you would already be aware of it. We all use, a lot of applications, WhatsApp. So basically, we are
Okay,
surrounded by the world of software. So
okay.
you would have already having some idea. Software
Yes, yes.
is an application that end users like you and me uses to
Yes.
communicate with the machine. So it is
Okay,
our means to communicate with machine to achieve a certain objective. To achieve a certain objective. For example, WhatsApp. We use WhatsApp to communicate with each other,
okay,
but machine doesn't understand that Chandrabhanu wants to talk to Virendra or Rahul. So what they do is you have to convert your messages into machine understandable language. Okay, but we don't understand machines language. So for us, English is there. These softwares, they take care of converting from user language to machine and then again back from machine to user language. So in the world of IT, that is all that's done. You create softwares that can communicate with users in a language that users can understand. Okay. And then you convert that language to machine understandable language and back to user understandable language. So that is what we'll be trying to go through. Now, each software that is developed, it goes through a life cycle. What is that life cycle typically called? So in IT, we call it as SDLC, that is Software Development Life Cycle. Now, what it means is basically it lays down, it lays down foundation for building up a software, for building a software or an application, for software slash applications. We keep using the term software applications interchangeably. Okay. Now, what is basically uh, laying down foundation means? So, if you get an idea, let's say you want to build a messaging software similar to WhatsApp. You want to build a messaging software that is exactly similar to WhatsApp. Just having the idea alone is not enough. With the idea, you cannot just start coding, writing code, and then build the software. There are certain set of steps that you need to perform in order to achieve a final product. That is nothing but your SDLC. Now, let me open this flowchart that I created. So what is that steps that you need to perform before your final product is actually ready for the end user? So number one is your planning and analysis. What is planning and analysis? Just think of your society functions. Let's say if you live in a society and there is some festival coming up. Okay, and consider any festival that you celebrate. Now you want to celebrate, instead of celebrating with your family alone, you want to celebrate with all the people in your society. What will you do? You'll create a list of people that are staying in your society. Okay, so let me write it down here. So suppose we want to celebrate a festival. Celebrate a festival with all family members in our society. What we do, we'll try and get the list of families, how many families are staying there, how many flats are occupied, how many flats are vacant. Okay, so we'll try to get the list of families. You may ask them, ask if they are interested or not. Suppose if many of them say we are not at all interested in in this type of function, then probably you'll drop the idea. But what if most of the people say that yes, we are interested? Then what will you do? Next is you will go to market. You'll go to market and try to find out how much cost will be there. So if you take example of Ganesha Chaturthi or Vinayaka Chaturthi, see you may want to bring in one idol, one stage will be there, some speakers will be there. So for a given festival, you'll go to market and try to see how much will be the cost. Okay. Now what you will do is you will divide the cost with the families, number of families. So that will give you per head idea. Now that is how you will go and ask everyone that this is the amount you need to contribute in order for us to host this function. So look at these four options now. So basically what you are doing till now, you have not even started with the actual function preparation. So you did not buy idols, you did not buy speaker, you have not yet set up a stage. But what is it that you are doing? So all these four items are your part of planning. You are trying to plan something. In this planning, what is the two important thing you are doing? First thing, you are assessing if people are interested or not. Suppose if most of them are not interested, what will you do? You will drop your idea. If most of the people are interested, you'll go ahead. So what is it you're trying to do? You're trying to assess in your planning if people are interested or not. Number two, if they are interested, if people are interested, then what is my budget? How am I going to achieve it? Okay. What is my budget? How long it will take? So, for example, Vinayaka Chaturthi, you may host it for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. Okay, so accordingly, you need to plan for 7 days. What will be my budget? So, so you are understanding. So, you have listed out the activities that you need to perform. These four activities, and these four activities are basically trying to give you answer to these two questions. Similarly, if I take this example and go to the world of IT, when you get an idea that I want to build a messaging software same as WhatsApp, what will you do? You will assess, first thing is, you will assess if people are going to use it or not. Okay, so you get an idea that build a messaging software. Good, you got the idea. Then what will you do? You will assess if people are going to use it or not. If people are going to use it or not. Because if you are building something exactly same as WhatsApp, chances are no one will use it. Why will anyone use your software if it is exactly same as WhatsApp? So you have to think of some of the ideas that is there in your mind, but is not available in WhatsApp. That's how you can distinguish your product or your software. So suppose if you found out that a lot of people will be using my software because WhatsApp doesn't offer a lot of features like, let's say, sending video messages, not recorded video but live video messages, or video editing software is not available in WhatsApp. So let me add video editing options, sending live video messages to the messaging software so that it will attract people. So if you have found out, then what is your next step will be? You'll try and find out what will be my budget. What will be my budget? Now, budget is something that you don't have to give. Always remember, you don't have to give an exact amount. You have to give a ballpark estimate that what will be my budget and how long will it take to create the software. Okay, so that is what will be covered in your planning and analysis. At a very high level, assess if your software will be used. If yes, what will be the cost of building that software? How long will it take to build the software? And then you will create a plan. What will be your plan? Plan will be like how many people I need, what type of people I need, how many managers, maybe developers or testers will I need. Okay, so that I can accordingly distribute my work among them and get it done in a more faster way. How many business analysts do I need? Who will be my stakeholders? That is, who is going to guide people on the idea? There has to be a business person who will tell people, add this feature or add that feature. So, who will be my stakeholder? Who will be my point of contact in case you have given a budget, but what if we run out of this budget? Who will be my point of contact to approve if there is any change in budget or not? So that's how you create a plan also. Once you assess, identify, you create a plan. Now I'll stop here, see if there are any questions at this point.
No.
Okay. So that is all. That's part of planning and analysis. Most of the time, most of the time, you as a business analyst may not be involved in your planning and analysis. That is something that is done by high level executives, architects, or SMEs. So most of the time, but you may be involved to coordinate those meetings. You may be involved to help people uh, make a constructible or make a solid discussion. Sometimes people can deviate. One of the responsibilities you as a BA will have is to ensure that people are talking about the given agenda for the meeting so that they don't deviate and we make our meetings more fruitful, more discussion oriented. Okay. So you as a BA may be involved in your starting days of your career to coordinate or facilitate those meetings, ensure that something meaningful comes out of those meetings. Keep documenting the meeting notes so that future meetings can start discussion from the last point and not from the starting again. Okay. But as you grow up in your career, as you become more experienced BA, you will start driving these meetings rather than just coordinating. You will be the one who will be driving these meetings more forward because now you have a good business idea. Okay, so in the starting stages of your career, you will be more bothered about the requirements. So once you have done the planning, you have created a plan. I need 5 BAs, I need these many developers, testers. That's the time when we get into requirements. So what we do basically in the requirement stage is we try and create a detailed business slash functional and non-functional or technical. Non-functional, non-functional is often known as technical specifications. Okay. So in one word, in one statement, you'll have a more detailed business or functional and non-functional or technical specifications. So uh, let's take an example now. Okay. So we said WhatsApp. Let's not call it WhatsApp. We'll call it messaging app. Okay. So in planning, You just know you have to create a messaging app. But just knowing you have to create a messaging app doesn't solve the problem, okay? So when it comes to requirements, you try to get in more details, like uh, we should have one chat option, okay? Sorry. So before that, we should have contacts option. So contacts option will list down all the contacts that we can send message. Okay. Now then chat option. So you select a contact and start messaging. You start messaging. Then there should be a text box. So in order to visualize this, let me open WhatsApp over here. So you see, in this WhatsApp, what I meant by this text option is, see this, you see a box over here at the bottom, that is your text box where you can type anything that you want to. Okay. And if you see, there is this scroll button where you can select to whom you want to chat. Okay. So these are the options basically that I'm trying to list down over here. There should be a contacts option where, or instead of contacts option, I should say this as contacts page where you can select the contact. Then there should be a chat option. Then there should be a text box where you can type message. Now, idea, this messaging app idea is good till planning. Okay. So in your planning stage, you can say, I want to create a messaging app. That's it. But just having the idea alone doesn't mean you can create the software. In order to create the software, you need to have more details around it. Okay. So that is where in requirements page, that is where in requirements, when it comes to requirements, you need to list down various options. Then you will also list down how will my application look like. Using this example, the WhatsApp decided this will be all white color background, and then I'll give you an option to place photo icons, and then a group description, something like that. Okay, so WhatsApp decided. Similarly, you will have to decide how will my application look like. Nowadays, it's all about making your application more attractive so that the newer generation tries to use your application more frequently. So now you see the difference. In the planning stage, we just had an idea. In requirement stage, we are trying to drill down that idea. We are trying to come to specific points. What will be the look and feel of my application? Where will I place the text box? How will the contact page look like? Chat option, where it will be available. You can have similarly other option, calls, status, okay, etc. Whatever you think is more relevant to your application. So now these all points comes in part of your requirement stages. You write in more detail. Why we have to write in more detail? Why can't we just go with the idea? The reason being, developers, coders, and testers, they may not be able to understand what the idea is actually asking for. So developers and testers, they need more details. They need more details around each functionality, how the functionality will look like. You guys, as a business analyst, it is your responsibility to talk to stakeholders, get more details around the idea so that you can come up with requirements. During our later sessions, as we go through as we deep dive into these sessions, we'll understand what are the various techniques that you as a business analyst will use to extract information from user who just has an idea. Okay, so how will you extract information? How will you come and create these requirements? And also, as and when you extract information from user, how are you going to write it down? In what format are you going to write it down? So that you can share that format or that document with the development team. Development team means coders who are writing programs and testers who are going to test it. So once you have written the requirements, what comes next? Next is your design. You obviously want to design your application. In typical IT world, we don't normally directly jump to coding and testing. We want to create a design. See if we can create a feasible, scalable design. So in design stage, you as a BA will be coordinating meetings with technical SMEs, technical subject matter experts, functional subject matter experts, consultants, architects. There could be different stakeholders. Basically, people who have good technical knowledge about a given framework. You'll schedule meetings with them, go through those meetings, try to see if you can come up with a design. Now, once you get the design is basically, uh, let me write it down over here so that it will make more sense to you guys. So, what is design? So, understand, suppose if you have to construct a house, what will you do while trying to construct a house? You have a land area. Just having a land area alone doesn't mean you can go and start using let's say start laying down foundations or start erecting pillars. You'll have to create a plan. So what you do is you call architects. You call architects, and those architects will create blueprint. What is that blueprint? That blueprint will tell how deep my foundation will be, where all do I need to have pillars, okay? Uh, at what height will I be placing my ceilings, okay? And the demarcations. How long will be my one room and other rooms, okay? So basically, your architect will come, look at your land, look at your land, get the size of the land, and then accordingly create a blueprint. That blueprint will have details around your foundations, how deep the foundation will be, and then it will also talk about pillar height and then ceiling and then demarcation of all the rooms. Okay, so demarcation is nothing but it will say what will be the size of each room. So if you would have gone out to buy a flat or buy an independent house or basically buy any real estate property, constructed property, when you visit the real estate agent, they will show you this blueprint that this is the design of the flat. Okay, so I'll have one room, two room, or three rooms. There will be a hall. Basically, that is the blueprint that an architect has created and shared with them. Then what happens is, so sorry. So similarly, this is what in designing you as a BA will be doing. So as a BA, you will involve uh, SMEs, that is subject matter experts on both technical thing, like there could be a Java expert, Python expert, or whatever technology you are going to implement this solution, and there will be a functional expert, or sometimes there could be techno-functional people as well. So what a functional expert means, someone who has spent or has good experience on building messaging apps, someone who knows what all features should be there in a messaging app. A technical person can tell whether creating this code is possible or not. But someone has to tell what all features should also be there, additional features that can be added. So even functional experts, they help during design to streamline your product better. Okay. You can also have architects, architects who understand your system and who will say what we should do in order to ensure. See, a technical expert, the difference between a technical expert and an architect is a technical expert will tell you whether this something is possible in Java or not, or how to create a design in Java. But an architect will tell you how to scale your product. Scaling means, suppose if 1 million people are going to use your product should continue to support 1 million people. It should not crash, isn't it? So architects help with those non-functional things. How do we ensure that it is able to address heavy loads? Okay. So that is what your design will look like at a very high level. Now, what you do as a BA is once the design is ready, you take the design and you go back to your requirements and then try to find out, is the design addressing my requirements or there is a deviation? If you feel there is a deviation, go back to your SMEs and architects and discuss with them that, hey, I was looking at the design and I don't feel it is addressing the requirements. And what is it that is not addressing the requirements? If you feel everything is matching, good. If design matches requirements, then we go to the next phase, that is build phase. What happens during build? Build is when you are actually involving your development team. That is coders who will be writing programs, testers who will be doing the testings. So at build stage, predominantly, uh, since you have involved both,
Unit
but
testing.
yeah, so basically the requirements will be shared with both of them, developer and tester. Developer will be writing their detailed design, like how many programs will I write? What will each program do? And they will do unit testing. At the same time, testers will be creating their test plan document and preparing for their test executions. So whenever the code is ready, they will start executing their test cases. If all goes well, you don't find defects, or if you found defects but you fixed your defects, you're good to deploy your software into production. And when you deploy in production, that is when your end users or the intended audience for the software, they start using that software. So before covering for maintenance, I'll stop here. Any questions? Questions?
So in design
No.
for HLD will comes into picture, high level design.
Yes. So let me write it over here. It will be HLD, high level design. You can also call it as blueprint. So you try and relate to the commonly used terms. Okay. So that's how I also try and remember it. A blueprint is what we usually see when we go and buy a house. So that's how I relate. Okay. In design, we'll see something similar to blueprint. Okay, guys. So I'll quickly cover maintenance and defect tracking, and then we'll go through the remaining topics. Uh, what what you need, what skills you need as a BA in order to be successful, and what will be your roles and responsibilities in this entire SDLC. Okay. So what happens once you deploy your software? Then there could be chances of maintenance. You build a software once, but maintenance is something that you may need frequently. You found out small bugs in your software in production, or you later found out that, hey, I have added video editing software in my messaging app, but let me add image editing software also in my messaging app. Now, for adding image editing software, you don't need to create the software from scratch again. You just need to add one new feature. So that is what is coming under now maintenance. So once maintenance is basically for a product that is already available in the market, but you are adding some features on top of your product. You're not building a brand new product, but an existing product that's already available, used by the people. We're just trying to add some features on top of it. It could be possible that you are trying to add features, or you may be addressing your in maintenance. You could add features to an existing product.
or enhancement,
Yes, add features means commonly used terms is enhancement.
or
You are
bug,
enhancing,
bug fixing also.
yes, or
Defect.
defect or bug fixing. So a user has found out a bug in your software or in your product or in your application, and they have reported that bug and you want to fix it. So again, when it comes to defects, you may not have to do planning and analysis. That's absolutely not needed. If you are trying to enhance, if you're trying to have major enhancements to your software or to your product, you may go through planning again. But if it's bug fixes or minor enhancements, you can directly jump onto requirements. Okay, so minor enhancements or bug fixes, or sometimes bug fixes will directly start from design. You modify your high level design and then start coding. You don't even have to write requirements for bug fixes. That is why it is bug. Bug means requirement already tells you have to go from path A to path B. But because of some defect, you are going from A to C instead of A to B. So requirement doesn't need any changes, but your design may require changes. So let me write it down over here. So for maintenance,
For bit test to
uh,
pass through the change control board, no? Change request.
yes, so that will those technical terms will cover during our second session on
Okay, okay.
frequently used terms. So at
Right,
this
right.
point, we are just trying to understand what an SDLC is. Then we'll slowly add technical terms to these terminologies. So small enhancements can go through, uh, can go through the requirements stage. Major enhancements will start from planning, and bug fixes, or or defects, uh, they can start from design directly. Because for bug fixes or defects, you already know what the requirement is. So there will be less interaction of a BA. Now let me cover this defect tracking phase, just to give you an idea. So what happens? What is basically a defect? So a defect means when your software doesn't work in the intended way. So let me take this messaging app for example. Suppose I want to type what is the time, and you see this button over here. This button is supposed to send my message. Send my message, number one. Number two, because I'm typing in this specific group, BA UK batch 3. So when I click on send, this message should only be sent in this group and not anywhere else. But suppose what if I type this message and click on send, but because of something wrong in my code, the message gets sent to another group. Let's say,
Yeah, like a broadcast. Right.
yes, maybe it does the broadcast instead of the intended. Uh,
Multicast or unicast. Right, right.
yes. So that is where when your software doesn't perform its intended role, if it is not performing its intended role, and what is intended role? Intended role is something that is already documented in your requirements. So what is a defect? When the software doesn't perform its intended role. And what is intended role? The role that is
Defined document
documented in the
requirement.
requirements. So requirement is already saying that what you have to do, you have to, when I click on this group, when I type the message, click on send button, the message should go in that group only. Okay, so requirement is already stating that, but my software is not performing as per my requirements. There is a deviation. So that is what we'll call as defect or bugs. Okay, when there is a deviation in what software performs. So we'll quickly see how do we address that deviation? Who identifies that deviation? So that's where people like Virender comes into picture. So what he was doing earlier as a tester, his profile would be to ensure that whatever my requirement states is basically followed by my software. A software doesn't know how it has to behave. So a software is basically set of instructions coded by a developer. Is developer whatever he or she is coding, is it always correct? No. There it is prone to defects. So that's where a tester will come to ensure that whatever a developer has coded is basically performing or is in line with my requirements, what business analyst has written. Okay, so there are various stakeholders in our defect tracking phase. That is tester, test lead, developer. Now, this flow, don't consider that, all organizations follow this structure. That is basically for CMMI level 5 companies. If there's a smaller organization, they may bypass one or two steps and they can have tester communicate directly with the developer also. But that should not confuse you because I'm giving you a higher picture or a broader picture. There are chances that there will be less participants, but you'll always see this picture. Okay, so where all can you identify defects? To be honest, defects can be identified in build stage by
Build.
developer when developer is doing testing or during testing stage when tester is doing testing. But trust me, in my experience, whenever a developer find defects in their code, they will not tell any. They will just simply fix it. So that is why we have a separate testing phase wherein testers will do the thorough testing to
But
ensure if they can find some defects.
right, right.
So we are now talking about the testing phase. In this testing phase, in this particular phase, what happens when you find a defect? How do you uh, coordinate the efforts? So a tester, suppose he or she is executing a scenario. Let's say uh, we have a requirement. I'll give you a requirement for your understanding. So let's say we have a requirement that says similar to Twitter, okay, 140 words limit. You cannot send a message more than 140 words.
In text area, correct?
Text areas.
Um,
Now, what happens is when you start typing in message over here, you identify that you are able to type more than 140 words in it. So that's a defect. My requirement says that I should not be able to type more than 140 words in the text area, but I'm able to type more than 140 words in my text area. So that's a defect. So that is what a scenario is. Your scenario is that the text area should not allow more than 140 words. When you try to test it, how do you test it? By typing in your text area. So when you type in your text area, you find that I am able to type more than 140 words. So that is where tester will raise an alarm. In a CMMI level 5 company, tester will usually communicate this scenario to test
test
lead
lead.
that this is the scenario I was testing. In this scenario, I should not have been able to type more than 140 words, but I was able to type more than 140 words. So the test lead will look at it, will ensure that the tester is doing testing in right environment, the code is there, some basic checks. If the test lead finds that it's a genuine bug, he or she, meaning test lead, will report it to dev lead that, hey, we found one bug in the item coded by your team. So dev lead will look at the bug and assign it to a developer. Okay, a developer will look at the bug, will try to fix it by changing his or her code. And once it is fixed, they will notify the tester that I have made the code changes. Why don't you go and redo the testing? So tester will redo the testing. And while redoing the testing, if tester finds that now I am not able to type more than 140 words, the tester will close the defect. If tester finds that no, I'm still able to type more than 140 words, they will again send a notification to dev lead that hey, this defect is still not resolved. And this cycle continues, you see, unless the tester says that it is working as expected. That's when you close
Uh,
the defect.
and that cycle is called the regression cycle, no? Correct? Develop,
Yes.
developer, tested, upload. Okay.
So, any questions on this testing
What
defect
about
tracking
statuses, sir?
phases?
What about statuses?
Statuses will be so
Test
let
lead
me
immediately if the tester open a bug, tested will change it to the new, and developed will change it as open. Correct?
the tester will change it to open that they have opened. Sorry, it will be new.
New. Yeah, new.
When tester creates it, it will be new. Then
New.
test
Then
lead will change it to assigned, like
assigned,
it
right.
has assigned it to someone.
Some
Then dev
developer.
lead will then dev lead will actually assign an actual developer to the
Uh,
lead.
and they'll make change the status to open also. Open defects.
Yes, yes.
Right, yeah.
In progress, like in progress,
In progress,
working,
right. Work in progress.
and yeah, and tester, if everything is working fine, they'll close the defect. If it is not working fine, they will again reassign back to dev lead.
Hmm. And this defect can be found in requirement also, correct?
Yes. So basically, you will identify, most likely, you will identify a defect during testing or build stage, but the defect could be because of requirement also.
Requirement, right.
It's not that it will always be because of coding.
Coding.
Sometimes you may identify that requirement was written wrong. So we have to change the requirement. If you change requirement, change design, change code, change your test scenarios again.
Right. The cost of fixing will be very higher when the requirement didn't change in initial state.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you find a defect that is because of coding issue, it is easy to coordinate between the two teams and fix it. But if
Right.
you find a issue because of design or because of requirement,
Requirement.
then the cost of fixing will be high, like Virender is saying. And why the cost of fixing is high? Because you have to involve those many peoples again. For fixing
Correct.
requirements,
Again from
you
the
need BA.
reshuffling up and development, right?
Yes.
Mm.
So by the time BA is changing the requirements, my development team and my testing team is sitting idle. Idle as in not completely idle, but
Mm.
they are waiting to get the updated requirements, but they'll not get the requirements directly. So
Mm.
requirements will go to design team. Design team will create high level design, and then it will come to testing team and build development team. So that is why, because of the number of people involved, plus because of the time it takes, the cost of fixing a defect in requirement, found in requirement or design stage is high. So
More
that
than
is where
10,
we have,
20 times, correct?
yes, yes.
Mm.
So that is why it is advisable, and let me put it over here, is to have reviews. Okay. So
Requirement, right.
one of the effective ways of reducing the number of defect is to have reviews, and review not just requirements, but review your design, review your code also that you have written. So
Not
reviews
only
are
review, the
found,
approval has to be taken, no? Approval has to be
yes.
requirement.
So
Even that.
that sign off
Right.
we'll see later, but
Mm.
as of now within software, if you just do reviews alone will help you eliminate around 60 to
Uh,
70% of the
Right,
defects.
right.
And sign-offs are more useful when you want to put a blame on someone else. That,
Workflow.
yeah, you approved it.
Uh,
So why didn't you see it?
correct. Blame game again.
Okay, so any other question, guys?
So you'll be covering healthcare domain, in this.
This training, Virender, is actually specifically for business analysis. What we do, what will be your role as a business analyst. So
Okay.
we'll cover few basics first. That is, what is your SDLC?
Okay.
How does SDLC work in waterfall model? How
Mm.
does SDLC work in Scrum
Agile.
model,
Agile.
Agile?
Uh,
In Agile, we'll predominantly be talking about Scrum.
mhm.
And then what artifacts you as a BA will be preparing, like your business requirement documents or functional documents, your
Okay.
technical specification document or non-functional. What techniques will you use for creating your requirement documents? How will you conduct your estimations? And
Mm.
there will be assignments for each of these.
Okay. Okay.
So this is predominantly BA role in waterfall and in Agile both, but
Okay.
only about BA.
BA processes. You want to say, correct?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
BA processes.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, descriptor. Okay. So, Chandrabanu, you have any questions?
No, no, no. I understood.
Okay. So,
Presently, have no
okay.
doubts.
Okay. So I'll stop this recording and I'll share these recordings with you and the notes that we have taken. And as I mentioned, go through the recordings. Look for these notes as a reference, but try and create your own notes as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And in next session, first 10 minutes, we'll go through your queries or questions. Then we'll continue with next topics. So first two, three topics will be more about trying to get you guys familiarized with SDLC, BA, okay, and then slowly get into more details like what will BA do in waterfall, what will BA do in agile methodology.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
if
Thank you. Thank you.
no more sessions, yeah, I'll stop recording.